Hello and welcome to the channel. So we've got this Sound City SMF Tour 120. We looked at this a few months ago, well, a good few months ago actually, and we're going to restore this. I've already been cleaning this amp out and full of dust and all sorts, so it's been a bit of a job trying to get in there and clean everything, and it's still not fantastic, but at least there's nothing in there that will cause a fire now, should there be a short. And yes, Pink's here again. So we're going to fully recap this amp and go through every component, and there's also a few safety issues going on in here. There's a couple of wires here at the side of an empty right, you'll be able to see that if you moved your head, Pink. So we've got a couple of wires here that have been soldered together, and we've got a capacitor holder here. So I don't know whether somebody's eliminated that capacitor and just left these wires bare. I don't know how much voltage is on those, but that wire there, well, that wire there did go to, that looks like something that's been added on to me. That's on the filaments, so I don't know what is going on there. So I'm afraid the old 007 license to bodge has been in here, and yes, it's going to take some sorting out, this one. So we're going to have to get the schematic. There is a schematic available for it, so we're going to have to get the schematic and go through it with a fine tooth comb. A lot of capacitors in this amp. There's a couple of cans there, a couple of cans, another one here, another one behind Pink's head, which you can't see. Duck down, Pink. There we go, you can see it there. And then there's some smaller electrolytics, the one for the bias and so on. We've got this block here, not sure what this is. A transformer on the back, so some kind of active circuitry, not sure what that's about. Something to have a look. I'd have to say I don't know a lot about these amps. In fact, this is the only one I've ever seen. They're quite rare. So we've got us work cut out with this one. It is in a bit of a state. So the first thing we're going to look at then is changing the big can caps. We need to get this amp fired up properly so it's safe, and then we can test the rest of the components to make sure it's running right, make sure the bias is okay, and so on. So the first thing to look at is the main capacitors here, and these two are for the screens. And if we look at this orange wire here, you can see that's going to the screen resistors there. They're wired in series. And then we've got two more here, which is the first node from the center tap and from the diodes. Now this schematic here has got the power supply on here. So we've got two caps here, 160 and 160 in series, giving us 80. And then we've got 68 and 68 here, giving us 34. Then we've got a 160 here. Is that in focus? We've got a 160 here. We've got a 3.9k drop-in resistor there, so I'm guessing that is for the phase inverter. But at this, looking at this. So let's have a look what we've got on this amp. So if we turn it over, and this thing is really heavy. So if we tip it back, we've got 200 and 200, and I'm not sure what they are. 200, sorry, 200 and 200 and 200 and 200, so 100 microfarad on there. So I've got some 220s, which will go, I need to get down to the gym. That thing weighs a ton. So we need to take this capacitor out and have a look what that is. We know what the others are, so we've got 200 in series, 200s in, sorry, two 200s in series, two 200s in series. We need to find out what these two are. Right, we're just looking at this capacitor that we've got out of that bracket, and it is 32 at 450. So, and the other one will be the same at this end here. We just have it, I'll swing the camera around there. We've got another one that's probably going to be the same. Right, so I've got 32 at 500 that can go in there, and we've got this bracket off, so we need to get that out, and we'll have 32 here. So we'll stick a couple of 220s in there, 220s in there in series. That'll give us 350 working. That will give us 700 volts, so that's plenty. Now there is some notes on this schematic that I found online, and probably hard to see on the camera. If we go in, can you see there it says 455 and 490? I'm guessing that 490 is when this amp is first switched on. I can't quite read what it says between there, and but I'm guessing that's what that means, because that's coming off this first rail of the power node 1. So, and the thing is, I don't really want to power this amp up just to see how much plate voltage is on it in its current state. But we know we're going to be fine with nodes 1 and 2, and I think we're going to be okay with those 500s in, if that's 490. So, but even that, it's no guarantee on this amp. But, and this is what I mean, if that's got 490 when it's switched on, these will have 490 on them, and this is what I mean. When this amp's switched on, that 490 volts will hit these caps, so it's 40 volts over, only for a short period of time till the tubes start to conduct. But both of those will be getting a larrapin, and they've survived despite that, but it's not a good idea. So if we up those up to 500, we should be okay. Right, we've got this cap, you can see in the distance there. It's a bit hard to focus because I've focused the camera for this, so let's have a look just for a laugh. That's yeah, how can there be nothing wrong with that, the state it's in? Unbelievable. Let's try the other side, and he's already measured it, and that's the same. My days. I mean, you wouldn't leave it in, but look at the state of that, and it's still working absolutely fine. I don't know. Right, we've got these. Let's cut the resistors off. Got the camera in a bit close, but I just thought I'd take advantage of that transformer to stand the tester on. 218 ESR 0.1, and that should be 200, so he's probably leaky. Still working though, isn't he? He's still working, surprisingly enough. What have I done with the other one? The other one's a bit gooey because it's got tape around it. So couldn't just cut the resistor off. It's just a balancing resistor. $214, so that's a bit over as well. So yeah, they'd still run the amp, but my word, being in there a long time, you just wouldn't leave them in no matter what. But anyway, just for a laugh. So yeah, we'll get the big ones out and we'll test those as well. Right, so I've got these caps in over here. You can just about see the second one there. I've been looking at some stuff in this area of the amp, and if we zoom in and look at that, you can see we've had some burnage. So looks to me like this resistor has been replaced because the other one burnt up, and obviously it's burnt that wire there, so we're going to have to change that. It's no big deal. Now the other thing was this here. So we've got this wire, you can see, just randomly connected there. So we've done a bit of investigating on the schematic, and these were indeed wired DC, these preamp tubes, at some point. So we've got the schematic here, and if we look here, you can see we've got a diode there, IN5401, and a 10,000 microfarad capacitor at 16 volts. So that is what was originally the DC set out for the filaments. And you can see here we've got a variable pot going to ground. So that is actually on one of the preamp tubes, and it's that one there. You can see it if we hone in here. That is that pot. I'm pretty sure it is. And there, it's definitely on the filament, so I'm presuming that's the pot. I can't see a pot anywhere else, so it must be that. So yes, once again Mr. Bodger has struck there, and just to leave that, you know, like that is that's terrible. Well, that could have easily touched on there, and high current with the filaments, even though it's low voltage, high current, that's a recipe for disaster. This capacitor here, if we look, and you can see that is in a real state, we've peeled the tape off there, and you can see we've got 1616 at 50 volts, but if we look, it's wired in parallel for 32 microfarads. Now that's on the preamp stage. Got some other capacitors here that are only 350 working. One there, manual focus on. One there, and another one you can't see off camera down in the right hand corner at the front. And they are also on the preamp stage. So I'm going to put that 30 microfarad in there at 500 volts, and we're going to use that for this stage here, and that's where that connected there. And then we'll rewire those filaments up properly. This capacitor here is for the bias, so he will need to be changed. and we've disconnected him at one end to get into that mess there, that burnt mess. And while we've got that off, let's hook the purple peril up to it and see what it gives us on this cap. It's 100 microfarad at 50 volts. So let's see, 118, so that's probably leaky. But it would still run, so we'll change him. We're changing him anyway. There's no we're not leaving him in there. So this here is the resistor that was put in place of the one that burnt up originally. And some wires have been wrapped around here and not soldered, I think. We just go in, looks like it. And you can see, if we look there, you can see where this, where we had this blowout of this resistor, burnout, whatever you want to call it. And you can see here, there's some wires on there. And I'm just looking at those. If that's been soldered or not, partially. So I'll have to address that as well. And you can see there's a few strands coming off there. So that looks pretty rough. So we've got all that to clean up. Right, I've just spotted something else on here. And that it did seem hard to see, and certainly looking through the camera. If we look here, you can see that this is broken. Look at the trace there. Sorry, the turret. That's actually broken. That's been broken a long time as well, looking at that. And it's also looking a bit dodgy under there as well. That burnout was pretty substantial. Now I've also, just something else that I didn't notice on the schematic looking down the camera, but if we bring this into here, there's the bridge rectifier, and there's a 10 ohm 20 watt resistor missing from there. If we go along here, that 110 watts is this one here on there. Just put the light back on. That's this one, but that 20 watt is missing. But that's all damaged as well. That's not looking good. Hey, I can't leave that like that, because that turret could drop through and ground. The other thing with this amp is this whole thing, this burning out problem. This amp's got a 2 amp HT fuse, which I think is just too much for this amp. You know, what you got in a 100 watt Marshall, 1 amp. Right, so we're looking at back at this schematic. So coming out the rectifier, we've got the 10 watt that's missing, 10 ohm 20 watt that's missing. So we go along here, then we get to this 10 watt 100 ohms resistor there. If we go along here, there's the caps, and those are ones I've just installed. We go along here, we've got a 3.9k resistor, and then we've got a 160 microfarad cap, which is nowhere to be seen. So that's not present, neither is the 3.9k resistor. That's not in there anywhere. So then if we go to this next part of the schematic, which is here, you can see power supply C is here, and we've got a 6.8k resistor and a 32 microfarad cap, which was the one that was mounted on here at the side, in the same thing as that. which is on the bench somewhere, and that's the wire for that there. But now if we look in here, this here is the DC feed from the rectifier. This wire goes over to here where we've got this massive burnage and where this trace has burnt through and where it's cracked. This then should go along to here, which should be our resistor, would be going at that, assuming it was there, the 10 ohms. And then through that wire goes to the capacitor there, and then goes over here to the 100 ohm. We've got a 6.8k resistor here. We've got no 3.9k resistor. So not sure. We've got a couple of these wires that are around here go over here, and they carry on down to the transformer. So that's center tap, and there's another wire here. Well, that's going on down to the HT switch there. I'm going to have to look at this and try and trace some of it out. It's a real mess. There's a lot of it doesn't make sense. There's parts missing. Right, I've come up with a bit of a plan, Stan. So this is not safe to mount these resistors on anymore. So I've come up with a plan of mounting them here, like so. Use a 25 watt, that's a 25 watt 9 ohms resistor, but it measures 9.3, and I think that'll be enough for what we need on this project. And then the 100 ohms at 10 watts we can put at the side of it there. One of the capacitors was here, one of the 32, so I've come up with an idea of mounting this cap here on the side there, so it would be on the side. The one that was here, sorry, there, you can see I've got that bracket on there. I'm thinking of mounting that one in this bracket as opposed to just having that on there. So I've got choices with that one, I suppose. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. I can't mount it past these bolts because obviously that's the transformer and it's huge. So all of that area is a no-go. So really the only place to mount these is here where this capacitor was. So that's the plan, and I think that's the safest way to do this. Also, you know, a 20 watt resistor just tacked across there, it's not good. There's obviously a lot of current being dissipated there for that to even have burnt up. And you can't understand why the fuse didn't blow unless they, I don't know, wrap some 18 gauge wire around it. But obviously it had a short on at some time to cause all this problem here, all this burnage. So I think that's the best way to go with it. That way it's got the chassis for the heatsink, help to keep it cool. We'll clean this pretty clean where I've removed that, but we'll clean that chassis up before we, and then heatsink compound those down with some bolts. And I think that should do it. It's a much safer way. This then I'm going to have to see if I can try and repair this. Obviously that turret will have to be removed because that's just all over the place. So looking at trying to repair this, because what we don't want is that dropping down on there because it's got no support. So that's something else we need to look at. So a bit of a mess, this amp. And then we need to sort this power cord out as well and make that safe. This ground is soldered onto the chassis here, but I'm really not liking that. It's on really tight, but it does look a bit dry jointed. I don't think it'll ever come off. But I'm going to have to remove that anyway to get a proper cable gland on there to keep that tight. What's that all about then? Because that's grounded onto there. Those are on the cathodes, right? So we're going to find some resistors to replace these that are soldered down to ground there. There's like a terminal on there, and we've got one on each tube. These three are 62 ohms, and these ones are 21 ohms. So they're down to on the cathodes. So I've got some 1.5 ohms that will go on there, because basically it looks like they've been put on to measure the bias. So they're not a massive. In fact, they should be on the schematic. Mind you, this schematic's not that accurate, is it? So they may well not be on the schematic. Who knows? But we'll look at those later. We'll focus on getting this power supply right first. Right, things are going from bad to worse, I'm afraid. There's been some choice words exchanged between me and this amplifier. So this is just crumbling and dropping to bits. Absolutely, it just, as soon as you touch it, it's just breaking everywhere. It's just garbage, basically. And not only that, it's only held in by a screw here and a screw over there. So I was trying to lift that up and repair it, get something underneath it, and then get a bolt through, and it just snapped. It's just useless. So it's had that much heat, you know, with those big resistors across there. It's had that turret had just burnt its way out. So I'm afraid there's going to be a big challenge now, and I've got to try and, I've got enough of these easily to do it, and these are a little bit of a better layout than those turrets, because we can get the wires through there. These are terminals rather than those crappy turrets that's on there. They're thin. Some of them have already snapped off. Now I'm looking across here, and if we go in, let me just take some light off. And now we're in there. You can see that it's just a mess of these things are budget, they are. So you can see all of this is flexing. So I've got a screen resistor fastened on there, which is why I was trying to lift that up and get some support in it and fix it, because if that gets pushed down onto the chassis, my word, that'll be a big bang. So looking at this then, and we need to try and get more bolts in here to make this more secure. Dear, oh dear. So we're going to use these in sections. Now here is an unused turret. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turret number 6 is not used. So I'm guessing that if I pull that out of there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is about there, that's right. And then put another bolt, we'll have to drill through, put another bolt through there. That's supporting that part. And then we'll have to start again here, but this is the problem with this. So if we try one of the longer ones to do that with, and these, to watch these, because these aren't particularly great great. These newer ones look slightly thicker, but if we put that in there, 1 2 3 4 5, and then 6 is there, yeah, pull that one out and get a bolt through there, and then the problem is coming across here, it's going to be difficult to, we've got one on the end there though, so we've already got one on the end. So with that one, which is going to be here, and then probably get one in there at the end, and that will be enough to support that one. So that's that one sorted out there. Well, it's not sorted out because I've got to wire it all up, and that's a massive job. Normal circumstances with an amp like this, it'd be bin fodder, but it's such a rare amp, and I don't like writing amps off that are rare. Just get that wire out of the way. So we've got him there. Now this one's a new one, well, new old stock. I don't know where these have come from. So if I can get that one in there, but the problem with these is that I've got to lose a turret, which is fine. Well, lose a tag to get the bolt in, so I can take that. Oh, can you still see on there? Let's just move across. You can't, can you? So I should move across. So now we can add this one here, and I can lose this turret here, tags rather, for the bolt. Now that I need out of this 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, because that 9, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 one short. So it's a matter of being able to add these turrets up and make sure that we've got a strip for every one. So 1 2 3 4 5 bolt, 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 up to there. That's fine. 1 2 3 4 5 bolt, 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. So that's fine up to there. So 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. So there, just make a mark, and then the bolt on the end will replace what would be that turret there, which means we've now got to put that onto the next strip that we're putting in. So we've got to count that in. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Is that 10? 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So we need 10 strips on here, but we need so actually, yeah, so that one will be the next bolt. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and then cut it and pull one out for the bolt there. That looks like it'll work. Right. So I've got this fitted now, and you can see it's a much better job. It's also a little bit higher than the original one. So yeah, I've cleaned all this up as well, because remember that one was a used one. This one is a new one. So we're all ready to go. So now all we've got to do is wire it all up. Fun times. Right, I've started wiring some of this up. Got the screen resistors on there, and this resistor here to the negative feedback. we've got this capacitor wired up now, or the ground we've not, but we've got the live terminals on there. I've managed to break the 10 ohm resistor, the 100 ohm resistor at 10 watts, so I've got to replace that. Yeah, so still got quite a bit of work to do. I've still got this in because I've got the trim pots on there for the bias settings. That's all got to go on here, but we're gradually building this back up now. So I'm going to make this a part 1 because this amp is in such a state that these videos are just going to run on so long. So it's probably going to need three videos on this maybe. So I'm going to make this part 1. So in part 2, we're going to come back, we're going to wire the rest of this up, wire all the power from the diodes. We're going to put new diodes in as well, get rid of these old ones, been in years, put some new ones in, and then get all the power supply working, and then fire this amp up and just see where we are with it. Just put a couple of output tubes in it, and then we're going to work our way down this preamp board as well and sort all of that out and get all of this done. And then we're going to get all the tubes in this amp eventually, set it all up and get it biased properly. But yes, it's been a tough one this, but I think we've broke its back now. So that'll do it for this one. So thanks for watching. You all take care, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye for now.